Kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is just what it is. It is kinetic. So that is energy due to motion. Because before we talked about kinetic and kinetic motion, it is moving. It has a velocity. So we know it has velocity. So it is moving. So your little car driving down the road has kinetic energy. Well, what is that energy? Energy has units that are joules. Joules is a unit of energy. Joules is also a unit of work. Well, work is a force times a distance. So that's a Newton meter is the same thing as a joule. It's easier to remember joules than it is Newton meters. So kinetic energy is joules. Well, how do we find those joules? We know it's movement, so we have to have a velocity. Kinetic energy is equal to 1/2 mass velocity squared. So mass is m and velocity is v. So we have everything we need to know to find our kinetic energy. So let's say our little car is moving along and has a mass of 500 kilograms. It's moving at a velocity of 4 meters per second. Well, how much kinetic energy does it have? So kinetic energy is equal to 1/2 mass times velocity squared. So that is equal to 1/2 500 times 4 squared. So that is half of 500 is 250 times 4 squared is 16. So 250 times 16 is 4,000 joules. So our car has the kinetic energy that is equivalent to 4,000 joules. Okay, so let's look at it another way. Let's say we have a car and it's moving it along at some velocity that we don't know, but we know kinetic energy. Let's say we have a car. It has a kinetic energy of 2,000 joules. And it has a mass of 400 kilograms. Well, what is its velocity? We know kinetic energy equals 1/2 mass velocity squared. So we know 2,000 equals 1/2 of 400 times v squared. So this is 2,000 equals half of 400 is 200 velocity squared. So velocity squared is equal to 2,000 divided by 200, which is 100, or let's see, no, it's 10. So velocity squared is 10. So velocity is the square root of 10, which is 0.16 meters per second. So your velocity is 3.16 meters per second. Let's look at, say, our car. I'm not very imaginative today. It's traveling along, and it has a velocity of 10 meters per second. It has a kinetic energy of 3,000 joules. What's the mass of our car? Well, we know kinetic energy equals 1/2 mass velocity squared. Kinetic energy is 3,000 equals 1/2 mass times 10 squared. So what do we do first? Let's get rid of the 1/2. Multiply both sides by 2. That gives us 6,000 equals mass times 10 squared is 100. So that means mass is equal to 6,000 divided by 100, which is 60 kilograms. So our car has a mass of 60 kilograms. So we know that motion, if it is moving, all moving objects have kinetic energy. And you have 3 examples on how to solve for mass, velocity, and kinetic energy of a moving object.